I wrote down notes. That was beautiful, and yeah, thank you. So I'll let if Jonathan, if you want to speak, that would be fantastic.
Okay. Thank you very much. Can you hear me well? Is it okay? Yeah. Okay. So thank you so much, Sonia, and thank you, Ronnie, for this inspiring talk. I agree with Sonia that I could just listen more and more and learn and be inspired, because I often, and I think I mentioned it to Ronit when we talked briefly yesterday, I often imagine what would have happened if, when I was in high school, 16, 17 years old, full of energy and willing to join the Israeli military because that's what I was, you know, brainwashed to want. If I would have met one of you and you would told me a little bit about growing up in South Africa and about the struggle of liberation and about all these things that I feel that me and Jonathan Sugarman, that thanks to him I'm here today. We grew up in this kind of extreme brainwash Zionist militaristic childhood environment, from the family and from the school and from the state, of course. So I often have this imagining of what would have happened to me if I met someone like you, Ronnie, or someone like you, Ronit, earlier on. Maybe today I would have been here speaking as an activist, but not as someone that has to tell you that first he was part of what I see today as a terrorist organization. And I have no doubt and no problem to present myself like that. I was a member of a terrorist organization, although I myself was flying rescue helicopters, flying troops, and mostly doing rescue of soldiers or people after suicide attacks and things like that in Lebanon and in the occupied territories all over the country. But nevertheless, I was a member of an organization that today I see as the arm of the terrorist apartheid of Israel. And I have to deal with that, and I have to use it as a resource to tell other people, mostly young people, before they come to this age to make this mistake. But also I think since I woke up, opened my eyes, went through this transformation, organized with my friends this pilot petition, I think I'm using the fact that I was part of this horrible organization and a horrible agenda to promote what I believe today, which is what your organization is promoting. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak here. As I mentioned briefly before we start, I don't believe that I have all the knowledge, and I think most of you probably read more thoroughly the reports from Amnesty, from Michael Link, that I by coincidence just met him a couple of days ago here in Oslo. Is a wonderful guy, and reports from B'Tselem and Human Rights Watch. So I'm not an expert on these details and numbers, but nevertheless, I've been in this activism since I refused in 2003. So it's soon 19 years where I switch sides in a way. I want to mention a girl, a little baby named Fatima El Masri. She died yesterday. She was 1.5 years old, and for the last 5 months, her parents were applying for permission to get out of Gaza to one of the hospitals in Jerusalem in order to get essential treatment for a unique disease that Fatima El-Masri had. The apartheid authorities didn't give the permission. They said that they are considering it. The family applied again and again. And after 5 months, yesterday, she passed away. Just for all of us to remember that there is a ghetto. There is, of course, the occupation. There is the apartheid. And within all this, there is a place of a ghetto of more than 2 million people. Half of them approximately are children. 1 million children are in a ghetto. It's almost 15 years that is sealed. People cannot go in and out, as you all know. And I think it's time for all of us and for us to convince others that we have to take sides. It's not anymore this beautiful peace and love talk about, you know, we need peace between the nations and et cetera, 2 states, side by side, all these things. No, we need to take sides and show solidarity and support to the struggle of liberation. And I totally agree with the way that both Ronnie and Ronit, you described it in the beginning. We are here in solidarity with millions of people struggling for freedom and liberation, just like the history of the Jewish people and all the holidays that we celebrate. It's always about celebrating the struggle for liberation. If Passover in a few days or Hanukkah, everything is about liberation. If you don't mind, I'll just read you a song, a little poem. I'll do it in very short, just one verse of the song that was written in the Vilna ghetto by Abraham Sotskover. If anybody heard about him, he was a very prominent Jewish poet, and he was locked in the Vilna ghetto. The song was, the melody for this song was written by Abraham Brodno, another Jewish child. I think he was like only 15 when he wrote the melody for this beautiful song. And it became very well known during the Second World War, the Holocaust. And also as a child, growing up in a suburb of Tel Aviv, participating in all the ceremonies in the Holocaust Memorial Day, etc. I used to sing it, play it. And it talks about the night or the first night in the ghetto when you're laying, looking up above. Your body is locked in this cage, in this prison, but your soul is floating above, searching for comfort. And you look up to the sky or to the heavens, not knowing if there is something there or not, but just asking for some kind of comfort, some kind of warm hand that will be put on your heart to alleviate this this pain. And when I was on my last flotilla to Gaza in 2018, together with a group from different countries, but led by the Norwegian organization, I thought that it's time to translate it from Yiddish to Arabic. So with the help of a couple of Palestinian friends, I translated it to Arabic, and I'll just read you one verse in Yiddish and one in Arabic. Unter deine weiße Stern streckt zurück mein weiße Hand. Meine Wörter seinen Tränen willen ruhen in dein Hand. Seh es dunkelt wer Finkel in mein kellerdicken Blick und ich hab gar nicht kein Winkel, sie zu schenken dir zurück. تحت نجومك البيداء مدي لي بياد اليد كلماتي هي دموعي التي ليس لها أحد انظري إلى عيوني خمدا بريقها ليس لي شعاع نور أحمله معي للغد. So with this reminder of the ghetto and of the millions of people that are striving for freedom, let's just remember that, for example, the famous ghetto of Warsaw, where my own family also perished. I'm originally partially also from Latvia, like Roni, and most of the family of my grandparents died in the Holocaust, and some of them were in the Warsaw ghetto. So Warsaw was less than 3 years the ghetto until it was annihilated by the Nazis. And Gaza is almost 15 years. And there is no sign that the ghetto walls will be taken down anytime soon. And that's how I wake up every morning, thinking that the ghetto is still locked. And if we have still any dignity in ourselves, we have to strive to take down these walls of this ghetto and all of Palestine every day in our life. I know that I don't need to convince anybody here that there is an apartheid, that there is ongoing ethnic cleansing, not just in 1948, but it's going on, and it always with different versions. It was very big in 48. It was continuing later in 1967 as well. And it's happening even today, but every time it's in a slightly different way. Today, it's an ethnic cleansing that is done with very, very meticulous and thorough rules by the apartheid authorities. For example, if you want, you can read the article in Haaretz from a couple of days ago by Nir Hasson, describing how the policy of not giving any permission to build for Palestinians. So you have a section of a town or city with tens of thousands of Palestinians, and it shows that in the last 3 years, they got 1 or 2 or 3 permissions, cases to build another room or to build a house. And in the same time, of course, settlements are being built, and just other towns all over the country are being built with thousands and thousands of units and houses. And then, of course, the technique is that if a Palestinian is becoming an activist and organizing non-violence activities and protest and bringing artists and lectures and whatever going on a lecture tour, he can come back to his home in East Jerusalem, in Siloam, and find out that he has an eviction order and a demolition order, because the authorities are using, of course, this fact that there is almost zero permission to build, that whenever they want to use it as a leverage to crush any kind of resistance, mostly non-violent resistance, they use that. So I'm sure that the details are known to you, but I just felt that it's important to mention that. I'm just trying not to repeat the things that Roni said, which I share with all my heart, but it's important to know that there are, of course, we are a minority of a minority when it comes to the Israeli society, but nevertheless, you can see people from the very elite or the background of a very, very Zionist elite part of society that are on our side, full force. You can think, for example, the daughter of a former prime minister that is totally on our side, and in the demonstration, she's there together with her partner. The daughter of one of the heads of the Mossad, or the deputy commander of the Mossad some years ago, refused to join the Israeli army and sat in jail for several months. It's coming from all parts of the Jewish society and the Israeli society. And we have to remember that when we come to debate against all these accusations of, anti-Israel, anti-Semite self-haters and all this nonsense. I want to share with you one thought I have about Zionism, as a whole. In my personal view, it's not necessarily like just ideology, it's a religion. And how do why do I define it as a religion? Is because you don't need arguments and facts to convince you to believe in God or to believe in certain religion. And it works the same way with Zionists. Once people have this belief, wanting to have a Jewish state with Jewish superiority, it's stronger than every other element or every argument you can bring against that in a discussion. And I'll just give you an example how few weeks ago there was a big an announcement about a new movie that was done by an Israeli filmmaker about the massacre in Tantura. I don't know if you know, Tantura was a Palestinian village that was demolished, and there was a huge massacre of hundreds of villagers and mass graves. If you would ask Palestinians, they would tell you about that all along, all the last 70-something years since the massacre. But in order to bring it to the Jewish society and to the Western society, you had to have an Israeli that will come to terms with this situation and show actually people that commit the massacre, that participate in the massacre, admitting their involvement in the massacre and in the cover-up. But my point here is not about that. There were many massacres in 48, and you probably already heard and learned about that. The interesting thing is that even that guy, the filmmaker who made this important film that I hope will be shown in every school in Israel. I'm not sure this is the film I want my Palestinian friends to see, because they don't need the proof of an Israeli filmmaker or Israeli war criminal to say that. But even that guy, after seeing all the facts and all the things that are just shouting to the sky, and the mass graves and the kibbutz, this beautiful kibbutz right by the Mediterranean Ocean, doing all their activity and the beautiful grass and houses and agriculture and everything is built on top mass grave of the Palestinian villagers that were massacred there some years before. So even this guy, when he was asked about Zionism, he said, "I still believe in Jewish state." And I think it's an important lesson to us when we deal with Zionists, when we deal with Zionism. Yes, people go through processes, just like me, like Ronit, like Jonathan, like Ronnie. We all go through these processes. In some cases, like me, I was on the extreme side of Zionism and militarism, and I went out. I kind of feel that I had to cure myself from this belief. It's not going to happen with arguments. That's what I feel. What entered into our heart and our mind, our soul, in that religious way, will not get out with facts and numbers and arguments. You need to smell the killing, to see the injustices. You have to feel it on your body. You have to see the injustice happen. You have to fall in love with someone. You have to meet a personal friend and challenge and suddenly see yourself through the other person's eyes in order to go through this process. Otherwise, this religion is too strong in my view. And that's why, as Ronnie said, I am a strong supporter of the BDS movement and any kind of international pressure on the Israeli apartheid, because I don't think that we Israelis from inside will change it. Yes, we are important. Yes, it's important voice. We have to make it as loud as possible, but without international pressure, without the twisting of the arm of this terrorist entity, it will continue on and on and on. How much time do I have, just so I can decide how much?
I think it has been over 15 minutes, but I'm
okay.
No one wants you to stop talking, so maybe
another 5 minutes. Is it okay? Or
yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. What I just try to go quickly, because that happened always. I make some notes and eventually I just fly away. I'll just make a little line of this process that I went through, and through this line to explain what I believe is important in this situation. So as I said, I started from a very strong militaristic Zionist background with the father who is a fighter pilot, living in military bases, growing up in neighborhoods with all big commanders and generals. And during the Second Intifada, I started seeing the reality and mostly the involvement of the Israeli Air Force in mass killing and bombardment in Gaza and other places in the West Bank. As I said, although I didn't participate in these things myself, I was flying the rescue helicopter, but I felt that I am part of it and I have responsibility. And in 2003, after about a year of secret organizing, we managed to convince almost 30 Air Force pilots from high ranks of brigadier general down to low ranks like me, captain. And then we put this letter on the desk of the Air Force commander and publish it all over the news and the media inside the country and outside. And that was where I learned to say no to something. Later on, we decided that we need to say yes to something, and we started working with Palestinian former fighters from the West Bank, and form a group that was doing activism against the occupation together. This organization is very big today, but I don't feel comfortable to be part of it anymore, because to me there is some problematic in the way you shape it, as if there are two sides, you know, Israel, Palestine, we are let's make peace and stop war. No, it's Israel, a settler colonialism entity, and the oppressed Palestinians. And therefore, in 2008, around the time of the massacre that Israel called Kastled, we decided to form a group of Israelis that support BDS from within. So we call ourselves Boycott from Within. And it's basically Israeli citizens that joined the Palestinian call for boycott, divestment, and sanctions. A little bit after that, I felt that these declarations are important. These speaking tours, going and calling for boycott is important, but I need to do something direct on the ground. And then I joined the Free Gaza movement, and participate in different attempts to break the blockade. Of course, it was a symbolic attempt to bring this humanitarian aid, but the idea was to try to break the blockade and to bring attention to the fact that there is a ghetto, and the ghetto is blocked, and we have to put our bodies there. And as Sonia, you mentioned in the beginning that I was attacked by the military, but if I was a Palestinian fisherman, I would get a bullet in my head, not a taser in my heart. So yeah, it wasn't nice to get a taser in my heart. Maybe they thought that it will start to beat in a Zionist tempo, but it's important to know and to remind ourselves, if I was a Palestinian or even a Muslim Turkish activist, like in the Mavi Marmara, I would get shot in point blank, and not just the treatment of a white Israeli Jew. That it's not nice, but we always have to remember how it works here, and it gives us again more obligation to use our body, because there is a less tendency to kill those Westerns or white activists or even Israelis, because it will be more difficult for the apartheid with their PR. And the last thing, and I'll stop here, and I'm sorry for taking too much time, but today when I'm thinking about what to me is the most important thing, I'm trying to get not away, but the importance of the declarations of apartheid is super important. It's important to talk about acts of ethnic cleansing and everything. But the things on the ground that affects is that Israel is a huge superpower with a weapon manufacturing thing in a huge scale that is maybe per capita is on the top of the list, or somewhere in the top countries when it comes to per capita arm trade for person in Israel, and its power is derived from this ability to bribe dictators and countries all around the world with the Israeli weapon. And today, for example, living in Oslo, in Norway, what I'm trying to do here, and I think it's something that you can also try to do in Ireland, and I'm not well versed in the Irish arm trade with Israel, but I'm sure if we dig a little deeper, we'll find there are some connections. And with that, I will finish. Norway, symbol for peace, giving the peace prize every year. You have the Norwegian People's Aid that's going all over the world for mediation and peace. And Norway still is a huge arm manufacturer, even today, arming the Israeli apartheid. So they don't do it directly, they do it through subsidiary companies in America or elsewhere, and they are arming the Israeli apartheid. You have pictures of a Palestinian woman in a refugee camp in Gaza holding a shell that didn't explode with the name Nordic ammunition. So I think if we want to be practical, that's one of the places we need to press. All these trade, especially the arm trade with the Israeli apartheid. And yeah, just I'll stop here, and just feel free to ask any kind of question, especially if you don't agree with things I said. If by any chance someone here is not from the choir, just feel free to ask anything. And thanks again for inviting me, and sorry for taking a little too much time.